This is Thank You Mama, weekly lessons from mothers all around the world. Hello and welcome to Thank You Mama. My name is Anna Teider. My guest today is Traude Wild. Traude is from Vienna, Austria. She now lives between Vienna and Arizona. And Traude is quite difficult to introduce because I want to say Traude is an art historian, she's a book author, she's a mother of 4 children and a grandmother of 2. She's soon to be a Zen priestess. Traude, how do I introduce you?
First of all, Anna, it's so great to be with you. It's wonderful. And it's a question you ask me. I also ask myself because my life is a patchwork. And maybe we can talk about how great and powerful and beautiful life as a patchwork is. So maybe this is a possibility.
Yes. My life is definitely a patchwork. I don't know how much you know about me, but, being originally from Croatia and then moving to Austria and becoming Austrian in one way, and then being married to an American and living in America, being a marketing manager and then turning into a book author and a journalist and now But, my mom was always telling me that you can be different things. And she was a very successful movie actress and equally successful artist. And even within that, she did many things. So I think I was raised that way and I love it. I love patchwork lives.
That is fascinating. I did not know that about your life, but I absolutely can relate to that. So that is wonderful. It's not for everybody. Mm-hmm. But this is how certain lives are, and you and me are like that. So that's great.
But
great to know.
I spoke to one of my guests, and it's interesting how we are raised to believe by the society that we should follow a path, that we need this nice, beautiful, clean CV and life story. And so when I was switching careers, when I decided to quit my corporate career to become a writer, I was very troubled with bad conscience and I'm doing a wrong thing. And how can I invested so much in this until now, and now I'm changing it and starting from zero. But I hope that people will get more and more used to this, and this will become the future of lives, and especially professional lives, to embrace this diversity of experiences and skills.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It is, especially when you are asked by somebody, what are you doing? I never know what to say first or how do I introduce myself, because there are so many things I did. And my life is actually like a impressionistic painting. When you go close to it, you don't see a lot of details, no perfection, just fast strokes, because then there's another stroke beside it. But you have to get this in a certain distance to see the wholeness of a painting or to see the pattern. And it's kind of like, it's society cannot put you in a drawer so easily with this. And everybody wants to kind of be efficient, put this person in this drawer, so you can orient yourself. But with a patchwork life, you can't.
And that's what my mama also told me. She was like, don't let people put you in a drawers. Don't let them put a stamp on you. But Traude, let's talk about what it really means. So you were born in Wachau, and Wachau is so gorgeous. We have to tell the listeners a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, there are a lot of cruise ships going through the Wachau because it's an area along the Danube. And a lot of people know about it, this area in Austria. It's actually west of Vienna, not so far away, about 40 miles west of Vienna. And it's a very small stretch along the Danube. It's about 20 miles long. It's not really big, but the area is so gorgeous because there are left and right of the Danube. There are terraces of vineyards, and in the valleys there are also vineyards and orchards of apricots. And it's an incredible historical place.
And tiny little cities, medieval cities with these beautiful churches that stand on the hills above these vineyards and the big river going next to it. It's really incredibly picturesque. So then you moved to Vienna at one point for your university studies.
Yeah, but in between I did something else. I mean, I was growing up in a small village, and although it was so beautiful, I just wanted to get out and was thinking after my high school, what can I do to get to know the world? So I went to an academy of tourism for 2 years, and then I went to South Africa, Namibia for nearly a year to stay there. And after that, coming back home, I decided to go to university in Vienna. So it's a little bit a detour coming back to Vienna.
And then you met your husband.
Yes. We were both studying business. We were both students, and I met my husband actually during a seminar, a business seminar, and we really were very much in love with each other, and I got pregnant, and we married. And I finished my bachelor, the first part of my studies. But then the first really difficulties in my life started because he was thinking at his time it's more important his studies than my studies because he should be the main breadwinner. And so he did not support me with educating our daughter. And I decided my daughter is more important than the studies, and I stayed at home. So I stopped my studies, stayed at home, and decided to be mother. And during this marriage, I got 2 more children. So, however, this marriage was not working out. So, when my youngest son was 1 year old, I decided I can't live like that. So I can't. So, and we decided to separate.
Which was very brave to separate with 3 children without a degree, basically. And then you started working as a tourist guide.
Yes. I did a 2-year program for a tour guide in Vienna and thought this is the best thing I could do with the 3 kids at home. And then I started and realized this is not working out because it's so irregular, the work, and I could not be as a single mom having such an irregular schedule. So so I stopped being tour guide and decided to go back to university and finish my degree in economics. So I went back to
with 3 kids at home, a single mom.
There are several things. First of all, I cannot imagine myself now how I could do it.
Yeah.
So second, because I had a lot of energy and studied in the evening, but also in Austria allows it because it's a better social system. So I could study. So, and that was also a big gift. living in Austria.
Your university was was free, and
University
the
is
preschool
free.
was free. The kids were
Exactly.
taken care of, and I'm sure you got some financial support by the state to do this. So
Exactly.
don't we love Austria?
Yeah. I mean, I can say I can only be blessed, and
Yes.
I say I'm grateful. I'm blessed, and I know how difficult it is in America for a single person, single mother.
Impossible.
Really difficult.
So then you went back to university, and then you met your second husband.
Yeah. Oh my God. I fall in love with an American professor. And I thought that's the best happening to me. You know, he was so nice to my children and wonderful. And we married. I had my fourth child. And I decided to go with him to America with 4 children.
Whoa.
And here again, another wake-up call happened. Now, first, I was shocked to how I missed culture because Vienna is very, very, and the place I was growing up, history, culture was so ingrained. And so I really, really missed it. And at this time, like life is so interesting. I got to know a person who needed translating art historical texts about a painter Bruegel from German to English. So I helped her. And because I loved it so much, I said, you don't need to pay me because I just enjoy it so much. And then she invited me and asked her professor if I could audit art history classes, which I could. And this was leading for me to study art history. And I finished then with a master's degree in art history in America. So it was again out of a lack of, and I needed to fill my soul with something which is nourishing, and so I studied art history. Yeah,
that's incredible. You moved with 4 children to a foreign country after having finished a degree with 3 children, and then you finished your second degree. Okay, but then this marriage also broke down.
Yeah. This marriage broke down very soon.
Yeah.
It just, when you go with, I got to know this professor in Austria, totally different personality. When you come then in the hometown, I mean, things changed. We absolutely did not fit together. And then another lucky thing happened, coincidence. I got to know my now husband. We are now married for my third husband. We are married now for 25 years, and this was a marriage which was really, or a relationship which really worked. And so also with the 4 children. So this was really blessing. And
Traude, is there a lesson here? I want to go back to when you meet somebody in different circumstances, that relationships don't necessarily translate from one circumstance to the other. I think this is a very, very important thing, especially for young women to learn that you have to test it in the circumstance that will be your future circumstance. Otherwise, you don't know what you're really getting into.
Yeah. Exactly, because personality changes. Personality in one country, especially if it's not your home country, you're different. And then the old personality breaks through in the country you and you are much. So suddenly there's another person there. You do not even know this person anymore. And for sure, the best outcome would be to work it through. If both people are ready and open to work through difficulties, there's enormous growth possible, enormous personal kind of development and learning. But it's yeah. I mean, even one person, if you're really wise enough to stick with it, but it's very difficult, and
Very
it's
difficult. Yeah.
very, very difficult. Yeah, you have to really look careful when you go with somebody into another country, how it works out. Yeah.
So now you have your 4 children, your 3rd husband, you were teaching art history, and
Yes.
you discovered Zen meditation.
Yes.
I was very excited to learn that you are soon to be ordained as a Zen priestess. Tell me a little more about what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky to be able to teach very soon after I finished my art history degree, and was teaching in several universities. And also, at the same time, I studied, like you said, Zen meditation. And it was interesting because at the same time, pretty much 1 or 2 years apart, I got to know creative writing by Natalie Goldberg. And I thought, how would it be to combine those things and go to the museum and develop. Basically, I developed a method to combine all those ingredients, which means Kunstbetrachtung, which is looking at art, meditation, creative writing, and just listening. And so I started it with a group of people where we only went to one piece of art, and we continued. We did this kind of Kunstbetrachtung. In German, it's called kreative Kunstbetrachtung. And I did this for nearly 20 years. And when I moved to Vienna, the Sigmund Freud University kind of picked it up and wanted me to teach it there. So now I'm teaching in their program this kreative Kunstbetrachtung.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really a great way to go into a museum because you are not overwhelmed. At the same time, go really into relationship with one piece of art.
And not just run through.
Exactly. And then you carry this piece of art a long time in your mind. You have it as an inner picture, and it speaks to you. So that's a really good way also to connect with the other people who do that with you, because it's an incredible connection.
Can I join you once when we're both in Vienna? I'd love to. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that, Traude. And if any listeners want to join us, my email is always in episode notes. They should contact me, and join us in Vienna, looking at art and meditating.
Wonderful.
Yes.
They contact us, and we go to the Kunsthistorisches Museum, and we do this kind of looking at art.
Yes.
Very, very satisfying.
And now you're also hiking, long distance hiking, and writing books about your hiking experiences. You wrote your book about Ethiopia and your hikes in Nepal and Japan.
Yes, that is also developed partially out of my love to nature, my love to hiking and to writing, but also out of how to look at a painting. I look at nature with a kind of a kind of very like I look at nature like looking at art, and so my books are very much a description what I'm seeing and experimenting in connection to nature. So and I love to write about it because in hiking, and I'll often go for weeks, like in Japan for nearly 2 months. Then I'm not really processing it so much because I'm directly involved in connecting with nature. And only after that, I am thinking about it and kind of processing it. So it helps me also to process that what I experienced afterwards.
Traude, before we jump into talking about Mama Christine, let's just quickly talk about the subconscious, about drawing with left hand. Can you just quickly explain?
Yeah. Oh, that is also fascinating because it developed out of my love of psychology and also Zen meditation, and especially kind of making unconscious things in you kind of more conscious. And so I developed body drawing where my whole body moves with my non-dominant hand kind of moving on a piece of paper, and I express what is in me right now. And then I give it, afterwards, I color it, give it a word. And I did this already for years just for my own. And when I did I was interested in family constellation and got to know a family constellator. And she was so interested in this kind of method. And we came up to combine both. And now we are doing seminars with art and constellation. Now it's a little bit difficult with COVID, but before COVID, we kind of offered art and constellation seminars with those two things in combination.
Traude, it's amazing how much we've learned from you already, and we didn't even start talking about Mama. Let's talk about Mama Christine.
Yeah, my mother was really a special person. She was growing up in the Wachau, on an estate on a farm, and she was a single child. And at the time, very, very protected. There were many people on the farm, and say all as a single child, as you're in the center. But one thing happened to her which really kind of formed her life. When she was 16, still going to high school, the war ended, and the front line was just 1.5 miles away from the farm.
Oh, wow.
So with 16, it was extremely dangerous to be there when the war ended, because the Russians, especially the first group of Russian soldiers, were extremely dangerous.
I know, very brutal, yeah.
Very brutal. So her parents sent her with her bike, and she was 16. She was cycling alone over the bridge of the Danube into the northern part of Austria, where they knew a little farm where she could hide in the attic, which she did. So my grandfather was German citizen. He was also extremely in danger. And so he decided to use another escape route. And my grandmother was a very courageous person, and she said she will not move. She stays at home. So my mother was hiding first in northern part of Austria, but this was a Russian occupied area, and I don't know how she escaped this, but she escaped it safely into an area in Upper Austria, which was occupied by the Americans.
Yeah. So for listeners, let's explain that after Second World War, Austria was divided in 4 zones,
Yes.
and it was divided
Yes.
between Russians, British, France, and American. And that
Yes.
lasted for quite a while. That lasted until, now I'm embarrassed, 58?
The last Russian soldier left 55.
Yeah. Yeah. So it lasted, these zones lasted for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, was very lucky that they left.
So now she lands on a farm in Upper Austria.
She stayed there for a year because after a year things calmed down. It was not anymore so dangerous. So what she did there, she worked like all the others. She had to work. It was not something. And so she really got to know farm life in this. And she loved it, actually. She always said she really liked it there. And then she came back, and soon after, when she married very young, she married my father when she was 20, and took over the farm. So,
did her father return to the farm as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so they all reunited. Okay.
Yes. It was only in the beginning, in the chaos, that they had to hide and wait out till it's calmed down, and her father returned again.
And then she had 3 daughters and ran the farm.
Yeah.
And you told me the marriage wasn't very happy.
No, no. She was not, but there was no way to solve that, because there was a farm, and I mean, it's kind of, she worked it out on her own way, but it was not a happy marriage. My father was traumatized by the war, like so many. So not an easy marriage.
But she sounds, from what you told me, like she was a very, very strong woman.
Oh, yeah. She was a very strong woman. And I think especially the experience when she had to escape with her bike and had to be totally independent and look for her own life, I think this kind of shaped her very much. Yeah.
What have you learned from her?
Well, that is a very good question. And maybe the most important thing or lesson, what I learned from her, is the importance to connect and be in a deep relationship with nature. She absolutely lived this example. And so out of that came the way to love everything around you in the natural world, including us children. I mean, it's kind of, we were not so special, you know. She cared for us more, but we were in this system where everything was special. She was kind of like the big mother. She's the big mother which cared for everything, and also for sure for us children. But we were part of a system.
Earth Mother.
Earth Mother, exactly. Yeah. I think that is she did not do this consciously, but in her way of being, that I valued this most of her. Yeah.
And then we spoke about being grounded.
Yes, and that she was. She was incredibly rooted and grounded, especially in the farm. And the reason for that is also that this estate is already a farm, belonged already to my family for 500 years. And so it's very, very rooted. And this security she had we all three of two of my siblings and me, we took it over as a safety. It was such a feeling of safety, and out of this feeling of safety, inner safety, I could do the things what I did. I could kind of move out of this area and do all those adventures because I got this from her, this feeling of rootedness, I think. And with that comes also a trust in life that she was also trusting life with all the challenges she faced. And I think that also is I got ingrained from her that this really basic trust in life despite challenges which come.
As you're speaking, I was wondering how much it is connected to loving nature, because
yes,
when you love nature and look at it and feel it and understand how it works, you can't not trust in life, because you see this rebirth and regeneration and that everything is so cyclical and it comes and goes and tough times disappear and spring always comes back.
And you see, you live with impermanence. Impermanence is absolutely a part of life. And so you are not afraid of impermanence because it's the way it is. And this kind of lets you trust in life if you are not afraid. And I think you have a good point with that. I think this is for sure something she lived.
And then the last lesson you shared with me was about freedom.
Yes, that is also what I am so grateful. We had so much freedom. I think hardly any child in the Western world has so much freedom. And we could discover our world. We had to be home in the evening, but otherwise she trusted us. And the same thing in the way where I wanted to go, it was not really so easy for her to accept because she wanted me to be like, have a farm, a hotel or whatever, kind of like something to where you can show some material things.
Now we're going back to the beginning, something that's not a patchwork.
Exactly.
A life that's not a patchwork.
Exactly. She wanted to say her friends, my daughter, Traude, is such and such. She couldn't do that. So she thought this would be my happiness, but it's not. But she gave me this. I was not pressed into a mold or something, and so I could develop into that what was my path. And I think my 4 kids, I gave them a similar kind of freedom to develop what was in them or what they wanted to become, and they became great human beings and successful in their own field. So
you told me what are they? Will you tell me again? I forgot.
Well, my oldest daughter is a medical doctor. She's a family doctor. Then the son, he is in economic developments. He travels also all over the world and helps the less developed countries to become more kind of competitive and help them in many ways. Then the third son, he's a physicist. He is in quantum physics at the University of Innsbruck. And he's also an analog astronaut for the Mars. He's testing Mars equipment for future Mars expedition. So that's also something quite interesting. And so my youngest daughter, she is such a free spirit. She was at one time when we moved to Vienna, we thought she goes into trumpet and becomes a musician, but she changed her mind and is now studying organic agriculture
Oh,
and want
fantastic.
to go into kind of his very, very kind of concern of environment and in this kind of food supply
What
and
happened to the
yeah.
farm, Traude? Is it
Oh
still in the
no,
family?
no, absolutely. Both of my sisters have a farm. It mainly now a wine growing farm, and they are quite kind of well known. My family farm was taken over by my sister, and she had also 4 children. Actually, all three of us have 4 children.
Oh, wow. So
And
Christina
yeah,
has 12 grandchildren.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. The farm where I was growing up it's already a transition into the next
Oh,
generation.
that's
And
beautiful.
it's kind of like this stays, I don't know what will come, that it's not family anymore.
Traude, before we end,
Yeah.
let's talk about if there was anything Christina was not able to teach you.
Oh, yeah. There is
Oh, yeah.
one thing. Oh, yeah. I'm sure there are more. But one thing what I struggled to, my mother had a very, very strong identity. She knew who he was. She knew she was Christina Zillerbauer, this was, and with that, she had such a strong presence wherever she went and what she did. And for me, I never had this presence or this identity because my path was different. I wanted to get to know myself and to get to know yourself in the different roles or different personalities, the ways you have to integrate everything. And so it becomes a wholeness. And this was a very interesting lesson because after a while of kind of walking this path of self-discovery, I realized that this way is leading to the way of forgetting yourself. It's kind of getting to know yourself leads to forgetting yourself.
It reminds me of the more I know, the more I know what I don't know, in a way.
Yeah, something like that. And
Yes.
yeah, and this forgetting yourself, if you don't have yourself constantly in your mind, is extremely liberating. I can't emphasize that. So how important it is to let yourself go. So, because yeah, to be open to all things. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
beautiful.
and she couldn't give this to me because it's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
impossible. Yeah.
What happened to Mama Christina?
She died about 8 years ago. She had a stroke and lived a full life till this happened.
How old
And
was
so
she?
she was about 80. She visited me twice in
Oh,
America, which was
fantastic.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was staring it, learned English because of that. So it's
Oh,
quite
wow.
amazing. Yeah.
Traude, thank you so much for sharing these two amazing lives with me and my listeners. Before I recap, is there anything we missed?
I don't think so. I'm sure there are many things we missed because, but I think you did a great job in asking me, and it was great to be on your show. So
Thank you.
thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, Traude. Let's just repeat the lessons we shared. So we talked about connection with nature, and
Yes.
and I love how you connected that to love for everything and everybody around you.
Yes.
We spoke about, you said importance of being grounded. I read this as importance of having strong roots. This is a lesson we never had yet, and I very strongly feel about that because I moved
Yes.
around so much,
Yes.
to value these strong, strong roots.
Yes.
The trust in life, I love it how she trusted
Yes.
in life and taught you that, and how out of this love and trust and strong roots, she gave you and you had the freedom to go and discover the world and yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And then something she was not able to teach you was the presence and the identity, which we have to learn by ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It was maybe not a present in a way of the present moment, but as an identity.
As an identity, exactly.
Identity.
Having a strong personal presence.
To know, exactly. Strong
who you
personal
are.
presence. You go somewhere, you know who you are.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is not so easy.
It's not easy, no.
Patchwork life.
Traude, thank you so much again for being my guest. And here's to us and the listeners meeting in Vienna in Art History Museum and learning how to meditate and get inspired by art.
Yes, yeah. Would be such a wonderful thing if anybody of your listeners would come contact us and we could go to the end. The interesting thing is it's not only great art in the museum, but there is also a great coffee house.
I know.
Where you can eat delicious cakes.
I have an even better idea. You and I are going to find paintings with mothers and daughters, and we'll make Art Betrachtung. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about this offline.
Do that.
Now we have a project.
Let's do that.
And everybody will be invited to join us. Thank you, Traude.
Okay, thank you so much.
If you enjoy Thank You Mama and want to help it grow, please take the 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps. If you'd like to get in touch, you can send me a mail at info@thankyoumama.net. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Anna Teider, that's Tajder. This was Thank You Mama. Come back next week, subscribe, and tell your friends.